Do you guys remember this couple right here that's showing up on the screen right now? Many of you know them, and if you don't know them, this couple comes across very nice, very kind, but at the same time, once you get into them, you'll see that they have dreams all the time. They focus on Hollywood, and they talk crazy. And I've made some previous videos on them in the past. But this is their newest thing that they're talking about. I watched about all of a sudden they had this dream about 2022 and things going to get better. And in this dream, they made the statement that it's going to get better once Biden is out of office. It'll go back to normal. Everything will go back to normal. And when he said that, and I thought about that, I said, normal? Go back to normal. So what is normal? So, I had to bring the notes back. I've got the notes. I had to get the notes because this caused me to jot a whole lot of stuff down. So you're going to have to stay with me because I'm going to tell you why it's not going back to normal and why it hasn't been normal for a very long time to begin with. So people would have you believe that when Trump was in office, that all of a sudden it was normal and it's back to normal. Really? Was it normal when Obama was in office? Was it normal when George Bush was in office? Was it normal when President Ford and Reagan and all? Was it really normal? No. A lot of stuff was swept under the rug. And I have here in my notes, let's see. I just said it. America has been in decline for decades. Been in decline. And I'm going to just go through, I've got a list right here of sins of America. And I want you guys out there to add to the list in the comment section. Sins that in America because it's just so many sins that America has committed that is still unrepentant and have not resolved. And I want you to put that in the comments. And then I'm going to share a few sins of the church. And we're going to talk about that, and I want you to put that in the comment. We can't cover all the sins, but these are the ones that stood out to me and why America is not going back to normal because it's been on this decline for decades. And I have here, let's go to just there's some obvious sins in America that's been committed, but let's talk about some of the ones this is what struck me. The My Lai massacre. There during the Vietnam War. If you don't know about it, look it up. But over 500 and something Vietnamese were murdered by U.S. soldiers. And they was only kids. They came across a village that only had kids, women, and old men in there. And they raped the women, shot the kids, anybody that tried to run, slaughtered them. Nobody was held, the commander was held accountable, went to prison for a few years, was sentenced a life sentence, and guess who let him out? Nixon. Nixon let him out. And the other ones that shot up everybody, nobody never did any time on anything, charged with nothing. So that's a sin. How about the sin of Emmett Till? Do you know the woman, and I can't think of her name, but Emmett Till, if you don't know of Emmett Till, I think he was 13, 14 years old or somewhere in there, went to Mississippi from Chicago and goes down there. They said he was a jokester. He likes to have fun and this and that. He gets down there, but he didn't know the rules of the South really. But some woman, a white woman, accused him of flirting or whistling at her in the store. And a few days later, they came and lynched him and tortured him and tossed him in the Mississippi River. And this woman, more so recently, many years later, confessed that he never did that. Never did that. And guess what? She's still alive. And the FBI closed the chapter on this thing, and the family has been hoping, and the mother was hoping for justice for this thing because they knew who did it. No, nothing happened. That's another sin. How about this Georgia law takes the Cherokee land? We know what the Indians have went through. I got the Puerto Ricans. There's Dowles versus Bidwell, where the Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens who live without full protection of the Constitution. And you see what's happened when they have incidents over there, disasters, and how we treat them. And how everybody, places around the world, how they get treated by us. We want to, look how we do play. And some of you that's my subscribers that live in other countries around the world, share what goes on within your, from your country, maybe some things that they've done. I know I've got some subscribers from Europe. We know what the travesties that Europe has done towards people. We know that is happening. Sins. So what else I got? Oh, I got on here, people go to prison. So in America, and I don't know about the other places around the world, but I know in America, if somebody go do their time, they get out. No one wants to hire them. No, they won't give them a chance to hire. You set up, most places you can't vote. You're hopeless when you come out. You done paid your debt to society. And then America turns right around and tell you, oh, well, you can't hire a felon or you can't hire somebody that's this or that. And then what they do? Hopeless. And then they go back and commit crimes that set up and because there's hopelessness. And I have in here, this is one that fires me up. This fires me up right here. I have one here talking about DNA. All the police forces, around the United States, and I'm sure many places in the world, but let's focus on the United States. Police evidence rooms are full of DNA that's been sitting there many times for decades, sitting on the shelves. Our governor here in Ohio had some funding and got some. That was why, I liked him when he was campaigning, because he made sure prior when he was attorney general and stuff like that, he made sure that he was going to go into the cold case files and fund, some of this testing for the DNA that's been sitting on the shelves. Now, think of that. You got this all across America. People that's raped kids, people that's murdered, people that have done horrendous acts. They're setting, all of this stuff is setting on the shelves. And I said, if I was the president, if I was somebody in power, I would fund every single state to make sure that they can get the test every bit of DNA. You want to talk about combating crime? See, and that's the problem. That nobody wants to do with that. They want to blame everything else. Blame the gun, blame this, blame that. But you can handle that if you get off your tail and quit, as I have on here. Oh, America, we can find money for wars and political campaigns. You notice that these people, they'll such and such has raised $10 million last quarter, and all of this stuff. Oh, they could come up with go to dinners for politicians. They could pay $30,000 to hear somebody stand up there and tell them a lie. And then they utilize this money to make crazy commercials and all of this stuff to tear each other down. Millions and millions and millions of dollars. When you got all this DNA stuff sitting there and the criminals, serial killers, and all kind of people that's been running rampant for decades. Sins of America. Let's see what else that I have down on here. Oh, this is something recent I have. Senator Ron Johnson. He said parents should not become parents. He that said this. This is recent. Parents should not become parents only if they're sure. Parents should not become parents. Should only become parents if they're sure they will never need help. Saying you should only become a parent if you're sure you never need help because it's no one else's responsibility. So says a man, says a guy, he's a man, says the man where you got men out here running around that's ducking and dodging, working under the table so they don't have to pay their child support. Where you got men that set up and supposed to provide and work for their family, but they rather run the streets with the fellas or do whatever or all of this stuff. And you're going to set up and say somebody should never, ever, only have a kid or, because you're never going to, if you're never going to need help. You don't know when you're going to need help. What about the widows when somebody dies? So, it shows you how out of touch these people are. And so that's what I have there. So you add to the list of anything that you think of that's going on around the world. Sins of America. Now let's talk about some sins of the church real quick. And remember I made the video about the hateful pastor, this last video of Greg Locke, that hateful pastor, where he talked about, autism and epilepsy being a form of demonic possession, basically, that it's a demon, your child is being demonized. And the woman that's in charge of the Autistic Foundation, she said, how ironic is it that most churches, and I didn't think about this, but she says most churches don't have a ministry for the disabled. They said they've got ministries for everything else, but most churches do not have a ministry for the disabled or have disabled people in leadership within the church. And I said, whoa, that's a disgrace. And I'm sure that's a disgrace to God himself. Sins of the church. Teaching false doctrine. Of course, we've talked about that. That's what we talk about on this channel. Anybody that's teaching false doctrine, leading people, God's people astray, leading people off a cliff. Greed. Another sin of the church. More so than ever. This has been going on. The church has gotten more greedy and greedy over the decades. You got people that want to build bigger churches just because they want to outdo the pastor up the road or the pastor they see on TV. They want to have the bigger church. I need to have, and they get all of these crazy building fund stuff going on when that's not, they have totally don't have the proper focus. And then I have on another sin, of course, no longer concerned about fishing for souls. Many of these churches, and this has been going on for decades, people's not concerned about searching for, reaching the lost. It's about showmanship. It's about, we want to make sure we've got the best choir and we want to bring you in and have a concert and have all the fun. And the gospel's not being preached many times. There's no what they would call, altar call to have people want to come up and give their life to the Lord sincerely. There's no people there. There's no, the new members classes on many of these churches. They don't have a person, if they do commit their life to the Lord, they don't, come down and they don't have any type of foundational setting that they could be set on with the church. It's more so, okay, what's your name, this, that, and that, and then that's it. You don't hear from nobody within the church anymore. You come every week. You have no idea what's going on. So, and then another sin of the church I have, people not seeking out their spiritual gift. You got a whole lot of people that still do not know their spiritual gift and could care less about trying to find out what it is. How is the church supposed to move forward if you have a ton of people within the church not operating in their spiritual gift? The church, that makes it less effective. We are one body. We are to work and utilize the spiritual gifts to edify and do all kinds of things within to make the difference. But when you got people that all they're concerned about is sitting on the pews, sitting back, doing nothing, not trying to be concerned about anything, because as long as you got breath in your body, you still have a purpose. And God still has something for you to do, and you have a spiritual gift. And I have on here, lastly, you have a whole lot of people within the church that are moving in the wrong spiritual gift. People that's wanting to be a pastor when they're not called to be a pastor. People that's wanting to be in a particular role within the church. When we know what all the spiritual gifts are, we won't go through all of them. But we have people that are operating in some of the gifts that they're not called to operate in. So once again, when you're not operating in the gift that the Lord has called you in, then that anointing that he placed that will be upon you, you're operating outside of God's will. You're not operating under the anointing of God as if you would if you were operating in your spiritual gift. Because when he's called you to do something, he's going to give you the ability and the power to do it. And then, you try to do things on your own, the struggle becomes real for real. So that's what I have so far on here. This is a video that's a little longer than normal, but I have on here this Henry and Monica, where they're talking about things, going back to normal and this and that. And there will be no normal. There will be no normal as long as this world continue in its wicked ways. There's no normal. God is angry. That's what my oldest son told me the other day. He said, God is angry, not just in America. He's angry at the world. He had to remind me. He's angry. And he's set up and the judgment has come upon places and things. And he's going to deal with all of these people and all of this stuff that are not doing what they're supposed to do. And I told you last year, right when the pandemic started, when I first started this channel, the pandemic closed up shop for some of these churches. Some of them are going under, and he's not done yet. Some of these people are going under. Some of these fake pastors, they're going to go under. Some of these fake prophets, they're going to go under. It's going to come. Their time's going to come. I'm telling you, it's going to come because God is not going to let them get away with it. He's not going to let you get away with continuing to abuse people and not care about society and the poor and the less fortunate and causing trouble, spreading lies and hatred across America and around the world and stirring things up. That's not God. He's not the author of confusion. He's not going to allow you to think that you're going to use your divisive, hateful plan to get glory and give the glory to Satan. God will be the one to get the glory. And on this channel, we give God the glory. We thank him for everything that he's doing. We thank him for his wonderful, marvelous loving kindness. We talk about issues the church run away from, and we punch Satan right in between his chops and put him on the run. My name is Maurice Braxton. Evangelism for God is the channel. If you're new, consider subscribing, coming along for the journey. Hit like, because we're going to continue moving forward and giving God all the praise. And to the next video, my friends, take care. God bless.